The anime tells the story of Shiroyanagi Akira, a high school student who loves to play games. Even so, he is an intelligent student. He always gets the highest test scores among his classmates. Because of that, he made the game his escape. For him, games are much more challenging than school exams. Bored with his daily life, Akira always plays games wherever he is. Even when he goes to school, he still plays games on his cell phone. But one day, on his way to school, he meets a mysterious man whose body is wrapped in bandages. The man is powerful. When a car stopped at a red light and blocked his way, the man was able to blow the car away with one hit. And what's worse, he's after Akira. Without saying anything, the man approached Akira and attacked him. Fortunately, Akira was able to dodge and, with quick reflexes, he picked up a nearby bicycle and fled riding it. But the man still continued to pursue him relentlessly, forcing Akira to think of a strategy to escape him. And as a true gamer, he thought about using tactics from the games he had played and then decided to enter an abandoned building not far away to carry out his plan. Arriving inside the building, Akira immediately prepared everything to trap the strange man. Blessed is his experience in playing games, he successfully traps the pursuer, making him fall on the water tank on the top of the building. But what a tough guy, he still hasn't died even though he's been hit by a tank. With his head covered in blood, the man then jumped at Akira, ready to attack him. Fortunately, there was an iron rod near Akira, so he grabbed the iron rod and used it to stab the man, sending him falling to the ground floor. However, thinking that he managed to kill the man, strange occurrences still haven't stopped coming to Akira. He saw a girl dressed as a magician suddenly appear behind him this time. She congratulates him, saying that Akira just defeated her pet before finally killing him by blowing up his stomach and right arm. But miraculously, Akira apparently hasn't really died, because moments later he wakes up in a mysterious facility with his hands handcuffed. The wound he had previously received from the girl had already healed. His right hand is now reattached and there is no longer any hole in his stomach. And he wasn't alone in the room, there were many others whose hands were similarly handcuffed. While he was still confused about what had happened, the magic girl reappeared. The girl, whose name is Mion, claims that she will be their guide. Not only that, she also explained what had happened to them and what they had to do next. So as it turned out, they had all died in the outside world, leaving them with no more freedom but to obey what she and her organization said. As for their duties, they have to work to be test subjects of ability, and because of that, they will be assigned different abilities for each person. For example, Mion's ability is to turn her hands into cannons, but they don't necessarily get the same abilities as her. They would be free to use their abilities at will and kill each other. However, if they were deemed useless, they would be discarded. In other words, they will be involved in deadly games. After all that explanation, all the test subjects were escorted to their respective rooms, where they could study and practice their abilities. With that, Akira entered his room, and a moment later, his handcuffs fell off. He had decided to play the game of the mysterious organization, although he realized that the level of difficulty would depend on their individual abilities. He was curious about the ability he would get, and coincidentally in the room, there was a suspicious envelope lying on the table. It turned out that the envelope contained an explanation of Akira's ability, although after he read it, he still wasn't sure how he could use his ability. While in the monitor room, Mion was quietly observing Akira. According to her, there are a lot of potential players they gather, but so far, Akira is her favorite. Long story short, the first program or game, in which players had to duel one-on-one, finally began. Here, Akira must enter a room arranged like a class in school, and in that room, there was already a boy, Madoka, who would be his opponent. While Akira was observing Madoka, Mion announced the duel rules through the speaker. The rules are simple. The fight can only be completed if one of the participants surrenders, faints, or dies. After that, the handcuffs that bound Akira in Madoka's hands were released, and along with that, the battle began. With his ability, Madoka immediately turned the branch he held into a sword and attacked Akira using it. On the other hand, Akira was more dodging than attacking, as if he still couldn't use his abilities. But in reality, he was waiting for the right time to bring out his abilities. Instantly, he turned his hand into a cannon and shot Madoka, sending him flying into the wall. Madoka finally gave in, realizing that he had been cornered, especially since his sword had turned back into a twig after it slipped out of his hand. With that, Akira won the fight. From behind the scenes, Mion really enjoyed Akira's fight against Madoka. Even so, her subordinate, Yon, is still confused as to why Akira didn't use his abilities from the start. This is where Mion explains that Akira doesn't really have the ability to turn his hand into a cannon. He can only manifest what his opponent thinks. During the fight, Madoka thought that Akira's ability was to turn his hand into a cannon. That's why Akira was able to do that. If Madoka thought Akira had no abilities or even thought of nothing, Akira couldn't do anything and not even turn his hand into a cannon. The scene then shows a flashback of a girl, Amigake Yuri, one of the people gathered by the mysterious organization, just like Akira. And this flashback shows how she got to the game. One day, while she was walking in the middle of the city, Yuri found a shabby man crouched on the corner. Feeling sorry for the man, she offered him her handkerchief, but apparently her kindness made the man fall in love with her, so he continued to follow her wherever she went. It certainly made Yuri feel uncomfortable, and so she scolded him. Out of desperation, a few days later, the man planned to end his life by jumping from the top of the building, and coincidentally, Yuri saw him just as he was about to jump. So she rushed over to save him, although, in the end, the man grabbed her and dragged her down with him. And so, they died together, although afterwards Yuri found herself in the mysterious facility. She tried to escape by hitting and kicking the bedroom door several times, but her efforts ended in vain. Back to the present, Yuri finally got her turn to do the one-on-one duel, where her opponent was a perverted man, the type of man she hated so much. And what's worse, the man managed to catch her from behind and then sniffed her. Annoyed and disgusted at the man's depravity, Yuri finally took out her ability. She squeezed the man's arm until it was crushed, and, freed from his embrace, she ran around behind him and delivered a heavy blow to his face. This is where Yuri's ability is finally revealed, which is to multiply her physical potential up to 5 times. The scene then shifts back to Akira, who is enjoying his favorite candy in his room while thinking about destroying the organization that has locked him up like this. He believes he can do that with his ability, which is to read other people's thoughts and manifest them, and he can do it all without making him tired. But that made him curious. Where did that ability come from? At this moment, Mion suddenly came to Akira's mind with the answer. According to her, their abilities come from people's lives, so every time Akira uses his ability, someone on the other side of the world dies. Her answer of course made Akira shudder in fear, although then Mion said that she was just joking. Moments later, the alarm went off, making Akira jolt awake. At the same time, the door to his room opened, revealing a guard who was about to pick him up for the second program. The bodyguard then took him to another room, which already contained 4 people, namely Yuri, Madoka, Sawatari, and Shin. It turns out that now they have to undergo a team battle of 5 versus 5. For that, the 5 of them discussed formulating a strategy, and Sawatari suggested that they all tell each other about their respective abilities because after all they will work together as a team. Sawatari himself has the ability to bind everything he holds. Meanwhile, Shin, who is a professional wrestler, can make himself invulnerable for 2 seconds. Even so, he didn't want to use his ability. Madoka and Yuri then revealed their abilities, until finally it was Akira's turn. However, Akira decides to lie, saying that his ability is to turn his hand into a cannon. After all, if he admitted truthfully to them that his ability was an illusion, it would no longer be of any use to him. A few hours later, they were all finally herded into the battle arena, where their opposing team had arrived first. But strangely enough, one of their 5 opponents was hiding in the corner of the room. Before the fight started, as usual, Mion explained the rules of the second program. First, the fight only ends when one of the participants faints, leaves the ring or dies, and the second is the fight will be held one-on-one. Each participant who wins will get 1 point, which at the end will be accumulated. The team with more points will emerge as the winner. The first fight starts with Sawatari versus Rin, who is a manipulative seducer. Sure enough, once the fight started, she tried to seduce Sawatari and persuade him to give up, but Sawatari was not provoked by her persuasion. Instead, he offers her to determine the winner with a coin toss to avoid violence. Rin unhesitatingly agreed with his proposal, but in truth, she already had other plans. As soon as Sawatari tossed the coin, Rin took advantage of his carelessness to launch a quick attack. She uses her ability to create a torture device from her bodily fluids and stabs Sawatari to death. As a result, the first fight was won by Rin. In the second battle, Shin must fight Ringo, a high school girl who can see and copy other people's abilities. Her ability was very impressive, if only the opponent wasn't Shin. She realized that Shin's ability was completely useless even if she copied it, and so she chose to give up before Shin could attack her. The points between the 2 teams are now even, 1-on-1. And it made Rin angry that she took it out on Ringo. But her anger subsided after one of their teammates, Zako, promised to win the next fight. And so, Zako stepped into the ring. Her opponent is Madoka, who seems to underestimate her, and indeed, she was quite nervous in front of Madoka. Even so, she still launched an attack using a slingshot. Madoka can easily deflect a marble thrown by her, although after that, the marble suddenly turns into a giant ball. He was lucky to choose to hit the marble away, because if he didn't, he might get crushed by a giant ball. Realizing that the girl was dangerous, Madoka then began to move to attack her. Zako kept throwing marbles at him, but he could fend off all of her attacks. At one point, Zako panicked because none of her attacks hit the opponent. Even so, she still didn't want to give up because she was afraid that Rin would do something bad if she did. So with that, she made a desperate attempt by throwing marbles around Madoka. She tried to limit her movement of his by trapping him, but her attempt was unsuccessful. Madoka hit her just as she was about to throw the finishing blow. As a result, Zako fell to the floor while the marble slipped from her hands. But unexpectedly, the marble rolled down Madoka. A moment later, the marble turned into a giant rock and hit him in the groin, knocking him out instantly. After going through a fierce battle, Zako managed to win. The score changed to 2 versus 1, with the advantage for Rin's team. In the fourth battle, Akira's turn finally arrived. But before the fight started, Akira wanted to verify his cannon's illusion abilities, and so, he turned around, walked over to Madoka, and then provoked him, saying that he was an idiot who endangered the team, and Akira couldn't just let him be. Akira's provocation went smoothly. As soon as he points his hand at Madoka, his hand turns into a cannon, as Madoka thinks Akira will shoot him. With this, the fight began, and Akira shot his opponent straight away. But strangely, the shot couldn't hit the opponent, as if there was an invisible barrier blocking it. Even so, Akira quickly guessed the opponent's abilities. He can create a shield by putting his hands on the ground, and so with his intelligence, Akira immediately thought of a way to distract the opponent, namely by throwing his shoes at the opponent's face. Then after the opponent's hand fell off the ground, Akira quickly ran behind the opponent and pointed his cannon at him. Fearing that his life would be lost, the opponent immediately gave up. After that, the decisive battle took place between Yuri and the mysterious man who had been hiding in the corner. To her surprise, he turns out to be Aoji, the man who pulled her down from the roof of the building and killed her. Obviously, she was furious when she saw him, but on the other hand, he could still smile cheerfully and ask Yuri to marry him, making her even angrier. Even so, Aoji seemed to be serious about his words. He was even ready if Yuri beat him, because after all he had the ability to make his body as hard as iron. Hearing his confession, Yuri then chose not to hold back. With all her strength, she punched him right in the stomach. One hit was enough to send Aoji flying out of the ring. A moment later, Mion reappeared to announce the completion of the second program and the victory of Akira's team. But before they proceed to the third program, the loser team must be punished first. But fortunately, the punishment was not death. Rin's team only had to serve the winning team while they ate a delicious meal. Although, Rin and the others had to do it while wearing bunny girls' costumes. This could actually be categorized as harassment. Anyways, while Akira and the others were enjoying the meal, Rin tried to approach Akira and confess that she was attracted to him. However, Akira ignored her because he could already tell she wasn't serious. After all, he had seen how she tricked Sawatari and killed him. When they finished eating, Yuri felt her hand hurt a lot because she had hit Aoji so hard earlier. In response, Akira wrapped her hand in his handkerchief, making her blush with his kindness. After the meal was over, Mion told the two teams to enter a different room, where an attendant was waiting inside. The officer then informed Akira and the others that the team in the second program was disbanded and that they would then have to carry out the mission independently. To start the third program, Akira is taken to a room with a device. As Akira approached the device, Mion's voice was heard through the speaker. She told Akira to take the device with him because everyone had to collect 1,000 points in this third program, and it is through this device that the players can see their points. For starters, they had been provided with 100 points, which meant they only had to collect the remaining 900 points. After the explanation finished, the door in front of Akira opened, and he felt a gust of wind from behind it. Sure enough, the door was leading to the outside. Just as Akira set foot outside, Mion again explained that if he beat one person in Sector A, he would get 10 points. And with that, the third program began. As soon as Mion finished speaking, Akira immediately considered whether he should run away or stay where he was now, and in the end, he chose to run away. But while he was running, Akira bumped into a blonde man, Sato Katsuya. He asked Akira not to attack him, as he had no intention of fighting. Instead, he wanted to recruit Akira. Akira didn't necessarily believe his words, but before Katsuya could explain any further, they saw a girl running towards them, and behind the girl, there were 4 strange men dressed in red chasing after her. It turned out that the girl was Yuri. Katsuya referred to the 4 men as people from the red team. Instead, they referred to Katsuya as part of the green team, which was their enemy. It turned out that both the green and red teams had the same goal, to recruit people who had just entered the third program. The bald man from the red team then demands Katsuya hand over Yuri and Akira to them, but of course Akira refused. Instead, he unleashes his ability, which is to turn a twig into a bow with infinite arrows, before asking Katsuya and Yuri to run away. But the men from the red team did not just sit idly by. One of them turned his hand into a cannon, surprising Yuri, who thought the red men had the same abilities as Akira. Before the red team shot Katsuya, Akira immediately turned his hands into cannons and shot them, making them even more excited to catch Akira and Yuri. Fortunately, Akira and the others managed to escape from them. After feeling safe enough, they stopped to rest, and here Yuri took the opportunity to ask Katsuya about the green and red teams. So, according to Katsuya, most of the people in the third program formed teams, of which 2 were the green team and the red team. But the red team, which is the mortal enemy of the green team, consists of ruthless people with great abilities. Worse yet, they are led by 2 clever and cunning people. Hearing all that, Akira calmly asked Katsuya to take him to the green team headquarters. He wanted to meet their leader. Moments later, they arrived at the green team's base, and to Yuri's surprise, the base was like a village. The people inside were doing activities like in a normal village, and there was even an uncuffed baby there. According to Katsuya, the baby was born there. When her mother arrived on the third program, she was already 3 months pregnant. Long story short, Yuri and Akira were brought to meet the leader of the green team, Shiroyagi Yuto, who immediately thanked them for saving Katsuya. Then, to enlighten Akira and Yuri about the situation in the third program, Shiroyagi explained to the 2 that, at first, the teams in the third program consisted of only a few people, but then the situation changed, after the red team was formed and quickly grew to dozens of people. After that, they started kidnapping people unrelated to the quest and thwarting the other participants from getting points because they wanted to build their own empire in this world. In addition to the red and green teams, there is another team, namely the blue team. But they tend to be neutral and don't want to get involved in a fight between the red and green teams, so they don't need to be wary. The one to watch out for was the red team, and because of that Shiroyagi formed the green team. After explaining all that, Shiroyagi then offered Akira and Yuri to join the green team. Yuri was the first to respond. She immediately agreed to join, because she felt the red team should be destroyed. But when it was Akira's turn to answer, he instead took out his cannon and shot Shiroyagi. And it turned out that his attack did not affect Shiroyagi at all. Convinced by the ability of his future leader, Akira finally expressed his willingness to join the green team. The scene then shows the 2 leaders of the red team, Echi and Kuro, along with them is Rin, who has just joined the red team. They were all hearing reports of defeat from the 4 members who had met Akira earlier, and here, Kuro became suspicious of Akira. He thought there was no way Akira could easily escape from the 4 people surrounding him. He must have had other abilities besides the hand cannon. Back at the green team's camp, Akira and Yuri are forced to share a room because there are not enough rooms in their village. And here, when the 2 of them were already in the room, Akira told Yuri through writing on the paper that his true ability was telepathy. To reassure her, he then asked her to focus and close her eyes. The experiment was successful. She could hear Akira's voice in her mind and vice versa. Therefore, Akira asked Yuri that from now on, they would talk to each other via telepathy, as he suspected that Shiroyagi had bugged their room. After that, they practiced communication via telepathy, and at this time, Akira finally told Yuri about his true ability. But their conversation was interrupted when suddenly their devices rang. Mion appeared on the device's screen to announce that she would be carrying out a quest for the participants tomorrow morning, namely the ghoul hunt. The following day, the members of the green team gathered and worked out a strategy before they went to the mission location point. But when they got there, it turned out that Mion had arrived first. She didn't come alone. After she welcomes the green team, mummy-like monsters appear. They are the ghouls who must be defeated. The rules are simple. First, the game will end when all the ghouls are exterminated, or vice versa, the participants are killed. Second, for every ghoul killed was equivalent to 30 points. Third, during the quest, participants are prohibited from attacking other participants. With the explanation over, the ghoul hunting party began. The ghouls were seen attacking Shiroyagi, but their fists couldn't hit him at all, as if there was a barrier protecting him. Meanwhile, after telling Yuri about his ability and partnering with her, Akira could easily use his powers. He turned his hands into cannons and shot the ghouls one by one. The other members of the green team were no less great. They slaughtered the ghouls with their respective abilities. But in the middle of the fight, Echi and Kuro suddenly appear along with one of their subordinates. And amazingly, Echi was able to kill any ghoul who tried to attack him with just one hit. The arrival of the 2 red team leaders confused Shiroyagi. He didn't expect the red team to come to the battle arena because he thought they didn't care about the third program anymore. Well, it turns out that their arrival was because they wanted to see Akira and Yuri's abilities. Even when Mion invited them to participate in the event, they flatly refused. Knowing Kuro and Echi's goals, Akira then asked Yuri not to show her ability in front of them. But it was too late. Yuri had beaten the monsters with her formidable power. Meanwhile, not wanting the red team to observe them any further, Shiroyagi ordered his team to retreat. But unfortunately, Kuro immediately stopped them. He had already predicted the move Shiroyagi would take, and thus he had come with many slaves to the location. And strangely enough, the slaves then attacked the ghouls, even though they had no fighting skills. It turned out that Kuro's ability influenced the strange behavior of the slaves. He could control the people he owed him by putting chains around their necks, and they couldn't disobey Kuro's orders at all, even though he ordered them to end their life by attacking the ghouls. And apparently, one of the slaves is Ringo, whose life is now in danger because one of the ghouls is about to attack her. Luckily, Akira and Yuri managed to save her before the ghoul touched her. Seeing the slaves being slaughtered, Shiroyasagi also ordered the members of the Green Team to protect them, but things didn't get any better for the Green Team and the slaves because then Mion, who enjoyed the fight so much, brought out a giant ghoul monster. The giant ghoul was fierce and indiscriminate. He attacks anyone he sees, be it humans or other ghouls. The appearance of the giant ghoul made the Green Team turn their focus on him. Some tried to stop the monster, but they were all powerless against it. So was Akira. His shots couldn't injure the monster in the slightest. On the other hand, the monster could easily throw Akira into a tree. Seeing Akira in danger, Shiroyasagi immediately moved to protect him by blocking the monster. Then he asked Katsuya and Akira to gather everyone and leave while he fought the monster. Shirosaga's decision to fight the monster made Kuro happy because he really wanted to see Shirosaga's true capabilities. Kuro's wish came true. When the monster began to attack Shirosagi, Shirosagi immediately activated his ability, namely to negotiate peace with the enemy. But if negotiations fail, he can deliver a very powerful attack, even though, as a consequence, the damage he inflicts will also affect his body. Sure enough, after he attacked the monster, his left hand was badly injured, and what's worse, now Kuro and Echi know his abilities. And worst of all, the monster wasn't dead yet. It even returned to normal after eating the other ghouls. But the good thing is, at least Shirosagi isn't alone because Yuri and the others still haven't left the location. And so, now Yuri and Akira stepped forward to replace the injured Shirosagi to fight the monster. Seeing his members disobey his orders, Shirosagi became furious, but Akira tried to calm him down, saying that he had a plan to subdue the monster. Akira is also aware that the red team is still watching them, so he lures the monster into a blind spot that Kuro and Echi's vision can't reach. After that, Akira let the monster hit him, causing Shirosagi to scream in panic, thinking that the monster's crushing blow had killed Akira. But Akira isn't dead yet. Just before the monster attacked him, he signaled to Yuri to imagine that he had some sort of defensive ability capable of repelling the monster's attacks. Then after that, Akira put his cannon into the monster's mouth and shot it. Unfortunately, his brilliant tactics were still not enough to kill the monster. Now it looks even angrier. But just as the monster was about to attack Akira and Yuri, something unexpected happened. Echi suddenly jumped behind the monster and punched its head until it was cut off from its body. With the monster dead, now Akira and Yuri have to face Echi, who admits that he is very interested in them both. Then, he challenged Akira and Yuri to fight him, and even Shirosagi could join if he still had the strength. But before they could make a move, Mion came interrupting, declaring that their quest wasn't over yet. Next, she offers a mission that, for her, is much more interesting than the previous quests, where the red team and the green team will fight to the death. She called the quest King Hunt. But the king here does not refer to people but each team's devices. Whoever can grab the opponent's device, then connect it to their own device, then the hunt is over and the participant will get points. And as a bonus, Mion will make it easier for them to fight the opposing team leader. For example, she can activate the handcuffs of the leaders and lock their abilities. Mion wants to make this quest to end the feud between the red and green teams. With this, the leader of the losing team would definitely perish. However, Kuro was not satisfied if only the leader was destroyed. He was confident his team could win, and because of that, if the red team won, he wanted all the green team members to die. Mion thought the idea was good, and she agreed without giving it a second thought. On the other hand, Shirosagi of course rejected the crazy idea, arguing that in his team there were many elderly and children, but his objection was flatly rejected by Mion. If Shirosagi still persists in rejecting her proposed quest and all its conditions, Shirosagi and the others will have to face Echi and Kuro right now. She said. In the end, Shirosagi was forced to obey Mion. The quest between the green and red teams will start in the next 7 days. After that, the green team returned to their base, where they were all busy treating the injured. One of the girls there, named Haruka, also helps by looking for injured people in the forest. There, she coincidentally meets Shin, who saves her from the red team's ambush. To repay the favor, she then takes him to the green team's camp, and Shin ends up joining the green team. Meanwhile, Ringo, who had also joined the green team, was reminded of her past. She used to be an online game enthusiast, even though she always lost to someone who had a nickname, Ki. After investigating, she finally finds out that Ki is none other than Shiroyanagi Akira. Remembering this fact, Ringo then approached Akira while he was walking alone in the camp. Since one of Ringo's abilities is seeing other people's abilities, she knows about Akira's true abilities. And so, she asked that Akira be willing to be her partner because after all she idolizes him, the person who always beats her in online games. After knowing Ringo's abilities, as well as the fact that she was once a prisoner of the Red Team, Akira then interrogates her about whether she knows the abilities of the people on the Red Team. She nodded. In the opposite camp, the top brass of the Red Team began to gather their best fighters, and at the same time, Kuro begins to suspect that Akira's true ability isn't turning his hand into a cannon. Kuro's suspicions were true, and Akira himself still didn't know the full potential of his abilities. A few days later, when Akira was training in the forest with Yuri, Akira suddenly wanted to test how far his abilities could change him, and so he asked Yuri to imagine him turning into someone else. Miraculously, a moment later Akira transformed into Ringo. After training, Akira and Yuri met with the Blue Team representatives to recruit them and their members as mercenaries. The Blue Team is willing to help the Green Team as long as the Green Team gives them Yuri, but of course Akira refuses that ridiculous condition because after all he needs her, whose strength exceeds even 20 people. Even so, Akira is willing to fulfill their conditions as long as the Blue Team participates in the war under Akira's direct command. But then, without giving a definite response to his offer, the Blue Team returned to their base. The days passed until finally the day of the battle arrived, with the 5 tall towers becoming the boundary for the quest arena. But before it started, Mion explained the additional rules. More specifically, there are platforms for devices in the 5 towers, and participants can connect their devices on those platforms to earn 10 points for that time only. They can exchange the points to make announcements to all participants, learn the location of the desired person, turn on a dead device, or steal other people's abilities. The quest will be completed when the opposing team's leader device dies. After each team registered their leader's name, the King Hunt quest began. Here, Shiroyanagi directly ordered his team to at least secure and guarded 3 of the 5 towers. Katsuya's group managed to secure the first tower, but Asuka's team, which was moving to the second tower, was attacked by Echi, the Red Team leader in this quest. Asuka's comrades were subdued by Echi with just 1 hit, forcing her to fight him alone. With her greatsword, she could put up a fierce fight against Echi, but Echi is still too tough for her. He stopped her resistance with a heavy kick to her stomach. Realizing that Asuka is in danger, Shiroyanagi then orders the members of the Green Team to help her, even though he knows that this could be a trap designed by Kuro. His predictions came true. Shin and Katsuya's group and all the team members who went to help Asuka ended up being killed or injured by the Red Team members. Meanwhile, Akira finally meets Rin. Unexpectedly, it turned out that they had agreed to meet again and had even planned something. However, after Akira left, Rin contacted someone and informed them of Akira's whereabouts. The scene then changed to Echi, who had defeated all the members of the Green Team who were trying to save Asuka. Now that no more opponents are left, he intends to kill Asuka. Luckily, Yuri came just in time to save her. She kicked Echi in the face, sending him flying away. The battle between Yuri and Echi was unavoidable, especially now that she was furious to see Asuka battered. Yuri realized that she would not be able to win against Echi if she only relied on raw strength. After all, he was much stronger than her, so she fought relying on speed and counterattack, and for a moment she was able to put Echi in a bit of trouble, just a little because Echi was too strong to be defeated with just a few blows. At the same time, Shiroyanagi, Ringo, and the members of the Green Team in the camp managed to catch a spy sent by the Red Team. However, when they left him for a while, Ringo found him dead with his throat slit. Shiroyanagi and Ringo finally realized that there was another spy in their camp, and it was the one who killed the man. But what they still don't know, the spy is Momoko, one of the senior members of the Green Team. She had even joined the Green Team before they had a conflict with the Red Team. The scene then shifted to Akira, who was running while remembering his conversation with Yuri. Just before they parted, they got into an argument. Yuri wants to save Asuka, who is fighting with Echi, but Akira wants her to stay with him to find Kuro. In the end, Yuri persisted in saving Asuka, forcing Akira to develop a backup plan. After all, he needs a partner to fight the enemies in his quest for Kuro. Back to the present, when Akira was running, suddenly he was attacked by Madoka. The two of them then engage in battle for a while before being interrupted by the appearance of a samurai from the Red Team, Rendu. Reluctantly, Madoka had to postpone his fight with Akira so they could work together against Rendu. It turns out that this has all been calculated by Akira and Rin. The person Rin previously contacted was none other than Madoka, who had wanted to beat Akira ever since his defeat in the first program. Then, after informing Madoka of Akira's location, Rin contacted Rendu to inform him of the same message. That way, Akira can pit Madoka and Rendu against each other and get a new partner to replace Yuri. Even so, Rendu was a skilled swordsman. Only by working together Akira and Madoka, they finally able to defeat him. It wasn't just Akira who succeeded. Rin and Shin also managed to conquer their enemies. Even so, Shin, who had previously sworn never to use the abilities he got from the organization, was forced to use them to defeat the enemy that troubled him. At the Green Team camp, Momoko is back in action, and this time she targets Shirasagi head-on. For that, she took him to a place far away from the team members, arguing that there was something important she wanted to talk to him about. Shirasagi, who was walking in front, didn't notice that Momoko was pointing a gun at him. Luckily, he looked back just in time. Just before Momoko fired her cannon, he had already activated his invisible barrier. The explosion was heard by Ringo, who immediately went to their location to check what was happening. Not expecting that Momoko was a spy, Shirasagi then asked why a senior member like her betrayed him. It's true, at first Momoko was indeed a member of the Green Team. She admitted that she had no intention of treason. However, everything changes when she learns that her two sons, Kuro and Echi, are the leaders of the Red Team. She couldn't help but have to do all those heinous deeds, all for the sake of her children. For the sake of her children too, Momoko even had the heart to hold the baby Taro hostage. While pointing her cannon at the baby, she told Shirasagi to throw his device and seal his ability. Shirasagi didn't have to worry because if the Red Team won, she promised she would take care of Taro. Not wanting Taro to get hurt, Shirasagi was forced to obey Momoko's orders. As Momoko turned her cannon at him, he tossed his device and said goodbye. After shooting Shirasagi, Momoko immediately contacted Kuro to report her success in killing him. But a moment later, Ringo chased after her to reclaim Taro. At the Red Team camp, Kuro contacted Mion to inform her of the death of Shirasagi, the leader of the Green Team. But unexpectedly, Mion informs him that the Red Team hasn't won yet, because they still haven't beaten the leader of the Green Team. It turns out that Shirasagi is not the leader of the Green Team in this quest but Akira. And right at that moment, the person they were talking about appeared in front of Kuro. The scene then returns to Ringo, who is now preparing to face Momoko. But before that, she asked Momoko first to put Taro in a safe place so he wouldn't get hurt. And so, after Momoko placed Taro near the bottom of the cliff, the battle began. In the fight, Ringo copied Momoko's abilities so she could turn her hands into cannons. But she knew her cannon couldn't beat Momoko's cannon, because her cannon only had 1 divided by 10th the power of the real one. So, she fought using strategy. She purposely made her shot miss and hit the cliff until the cliff finally collapsed. Needless to say, it scared Momoko, especially after Ringo told her that the ruins of the cliff fell on Taro. In a panic, Momoko lifts the stones to save Taro, though in the end, she can't find him, because indeed, Taro was actually far from the crumbling cliff, and now he was safe in Ringo's hands. Seeing that Taro had been taken, Momoko pretended to be defeated. She threw her device and sealed her ability, and then, as Ringo had her back to her to pick up the device, she grabbed a rock to hit her from behind. But apparently, Ringo activated the front camera of the device, so she could see what Momoko was doing. With this, the doubt vanished from Ringo's heart, and she instantly killed Momoko. Meanwhile, the leaders of the two teams had been surrounded by their enemies. Echi not only had to fight Yuri, but also Madoka and Shin, who came to help. On the other hand, Kuro summoned the slaves to kill Akira. A battle ensues between Akira and the slaves, one of whom is Zako. The unequal battle was clearly unfavorable to Akira. The slaves managed to corner him at some point. He asked them all to stop so he could talk to Kuro about Shirasagi's abilities. However, that only made Kuro suspicious. He thought Akira wanted to buy time, waiting for Yuri to beat Echi. Thus, Kuro ordered 2 of his slaves to hold on to Akira while he took out a knife and stabbed Akira in the stomach with it. Feeling that he had won, Kuro confidently said that he had manipulated Akira from the start until he ended up like this. But instead of admitting defeat, Akira smiled. It turned out that he had activated Shirasagi's peace negotiation ability. He deliberately invited Kuro to talk just now, not buying time but negotiating. And since their negotiations failed, he was able to use a powerful counterattack that defeated Kuro. With his defeat, the chains of shackles around the necks of all the slaves disappeared, freeing them from the influence of Kuro's power. Kira's hand was injured from the fight just now, though his stomach turned out to be fine. It turned out that before that, he had stuck a lump of meat in his stomach, so when Kuro stabbed him, the knife hit the meat. Kuro finally admits defeat and hands over the device to Akira. At the same time, he warns Akira about Echi, who will bring out another side of him when he is pushed, making him invincible. The scene then changes to Echi, who is fighting against 3 opponents at once. By combining forces, Yuri, Shin, and Madoka really overwhelmed Echi, to the point that he couldn't do much to stop Madoka's sword from slashing his chest. But apparently Kuro didn't just bluff. Echi really changes when under pressure, as if he is possessed by a monster that makes his strength multiply. Then, he beat Madoka, Shin, and Yuri one by one until they couldn't move anymore. Because no more opponents were left in front of him, Echi approached Yuri to kill her. But as he raised his hand, Mion's voice suddenly resounded. She announced that one of the green team had used 1 point to use shout, a feature that could make their voice message heard throughout the area. It was Akira who used this feature to ask Echi not to kill Yuri. In exchange, Akira challenges Echi to finish the fight with a one-on-one duel, because after all Akira is the leader of the green team. After thinking for a moment, Echi accepted Akira's suggestion. He will wait for him where he is now. All the surviving members of the green team were shocked at Akira's recklessness. However, Shirasagi, who was apparently still alive despite having been shot by Momoko's cannon, calmed them down. He was sure Akira could beat Echi, somehow. A while later, Akira finally arrived before Echi, and luckily Yuri was still awake. That way, Akira can use his tactic, which is to increase his strength by 10 times. Indeed, during the week leading up to the big battle between the red and green teams, Akira and Yuri diligently practiced, including this one ability that proved effective in defeating Echi. With Echi down, victory fell to the green team, and the people from the organization then gathered behind Akira. They all applauded and congratulated him on his victory, as Mion announced the quest results. And at the same time, Madoka and Shin came back to their senses while all the members of the green team rejoiced, screaming with joy at their victory. When Mion suddenly appeared behind him, Akira tried to help Yuri to her feet. She congratulated Akira and then informed him that there was one last thing he had to do as the leader of this quest. She wanted Akira to wait for her somewhere while preparing something for him. After that, Akira went to the river to wash his face, but then, he was surprised by the appearance of the leader of the blue team, Amoto Airi, who had been watching the fight between the green and red teams. And from his observations, he found that Akira's abilities were very interesting. Not only that, but he was also amazed at Yuri's abilities, which he considered extraordinary. As if realizing that Akira was curious about his abilities, Airi then raised a hand at him, saying that he knew very well what his abilities were. Seeing his behavior made Akira remember his own abilities, especially when he turned his hands into cannons. And sure enough, instantly, Airi's hand turned into a cannon, indicating that he has the same ability as Akira. Then, before Akira could act, Airi fired his cannon at Akira, sending him flying and hurting him. With his body unable to move anymore, there was nothing else Akira could do but ask what exactly Airi wanted. In response, Airi says that he wants to kill Mion with his own 2 hands, and to do so, he needs Akira's help. After that, Airi simply left Akira. At the same time, Akira fell unconscious. Akira finally wakes up in his room and says it was a dream. He has now returned to the normal world. He then got out of bed and got ready to go to school. Although, in the middle of his way to school, he decides to skip class and goes to the arcade to play games. And in that game, he shoots monsters similar to the ghouls in the 3rd program. Satisfied playing the game, Akira then went to the tower in his city to meet Yuri, who immediately hugged him as soon as she saw him. Elsewhere, Madoka is practicing swordsmanship while Ringo is at her school. But then, she rolled up the sleeves of her uniform, and there were marks of 2 green lines wrapped around her wrists. Not only her, Shin, Rin, Madoka, Yuri, and Akira also have that mark. Then, the anime ended by showing Mion watching Akira and Yuri from a distance. So that's the anime battle game in 5 seconds. What morals can we learn from this anime? If one day we are transported to another world or the world of isekai, always make sure to be on the same team as Japanese high school students. They are usually genius or strong. The chances of us surviving will be greater if we are on a team with them.